Taxes are a liability when used foolishly. Taxes are an asset when used wisely. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how you can use taxes wisely as an asset. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've been very blessed in my life to have authored 11 books so far. My 12th one is just coming out, and they've all been bestsellers. In fact, I had a New York Times and Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller in 2007. And in all of my books, I talk about how to optimize financial assets, but also the other assets on the family balance sheet. Your wisdom, your knowledge, your heritage, your faith, your beliefs, and you leave behind those things to your family, your children and grandchildren. In other words, you leave behind how to fish to your children and grandchildren instead of just dumping a bunch of fish in their lap. Now, when we talk about taxes, most people, when I bring up that subject, they think taxes are a liability. But chapter 2 of my second best-selling book, Missed Fortune 101, says taxes are actually an asset. And people go, what? So let me explain. Before I tell you why taxes are actually an asset, if this clicks, and you want to share this with another person, be sure and click share, like, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I post an in-depth answer to a question or a topic almost on a daily basis. And I would love to empower you with a lot of insights into opportunities that maybe you didn't know existed before. Now, when I say taxes are actually an asset, what do we do with our tax dollars? Now, you may not agree with how the government is a steward over our tax dollars, how they waste tax dollars over. Let's not go there right now. But see, what are tax dollars used for? For our highways, they're to build highways, the interstate, to keep them maintained. Taxes are actually an asset. We all own those freeways, right? And so when I travel to different states, I get to travel on those freeways because I helped pay for them with those taxes. So those freeways are an asset. When we use taxes for all kinds of good causes, those taxes are actually an asset to who? The American people. But see, what a lot of people don't understand is that in the Internal Revenue Code, if you choose to take ownership yourself, that you can redirect otherwise payable taxes to causes you support. You can take those assets and redirect them to your children, your grandchildren, in ways that a lot of people don't understand. And it's not just about the money. So for example, many times I have helped people redirect otherwise payable taxes into my favorite financial instrument, which I call the Laser Fund. Now, the Laser Fund is a max-funded indexed insurance contract that allows people to accumulate their money totally tax-free. They can access their money tax-free. Every $1 million you save in a Laser Fund can generate $70,000, $80,000, even $100,000 a year of tax-free income for as long as you live. People say, well, why is it tax-free? It's because you're taking ownership to be able to provide for your own retirement. So the government allows you to be able to put money into an insurance contract, and I have earned rates of return averaging 9.6%, and I net 8%. I earn 10 and net 9. I earn 11 and net 10. There's only 1 percentage point that goes towards the cost of the insurance that the IRS says has to be there in order for it to be tax-free. But see, I use life insurance for living benefits because of the tax-free nature. Ultimately, when I die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free. If I died tomorrow in an accident, every $1 million that I would have in a portfolio of laser funds, and I'll explain how you can learn more about laser funds at the end, every million would blossom to about $2.5 million and transfer tax-free within 3 weeks of my death to my wife, my children, a church, a charity, whoever I want to leave it to. It's because it is protected in the Internal Revenue Code. I have redirected otherwise payable tax to causes that I support, and I leave it behind based upon my family true wealth philosophy into those causes that I support, rather than just rolling over and paying everything into tax that sometimes is allocated to causes that are not in alignment with my values and my vision. Does that make sense? In this great country of America, you can redirect otherwise payable tax to causes you support. Most people don't even think about it. But it's not just the money. You could actually contribute your time and your talents. I have a lot of volunteers that help me. I'm on a board of teenage suicide prevention. My wife and I devoted 5 years, at least 2 days a week, with teenagers who were suicidal. Many of them had attempted suicide numerous times. In fact, my wife also volunteers at the Christmas box, where a lot of young children are there in protective custody because they've been in abusive homes. And so as we do that, we are able to bring in other volunteers. And I see a lot of extremely successful people who command $100,000 an hour as consultants in corporate America. And yet they give their time and their talents to consulting 20 youth when they could be in front of a multi-million-dollar corporate client. But instead of making an extra $100,000 that night, they choose to be in front of 20 teenagers because the impact is greater than making another $100,000. It's not about the money. It's about donating your time and your talents. Sometimes that's more impactful than just making more money. Many of these volunteers could write out a check for $1 million and say, here, you can just try to save these kids and help them out with your counselors and so forth. But the counselors say, you volunteers accomplish more in 1 hour, 2 nights a week than we accomplish with hours of consulting. And it's true, because we go in, and I think the biggest difference is we're non-judgmental. We don't know what they've done. Many times they've done some pretty bad things. We don't worry about the past. We tell them they have a spotless future. We want to lift them up. We want to give them hope. We want them to know that they do have a choice for a brighter future. They're not stuck. By doing that, we're non-judgmental. And so as volunteers, the impact is greater than if we just wrote out a check for an extra $1 million in a voluntary contribution or in higher taxes to have just the systems do it. I'm not saying the government systems aren't good, but sometimes when you give your time and you give your talents to causes, that's more impactful than just rolling over and writing out bigger and bigger checks in taxes or in contributions with money. Does that make sense? So I've noticed that many highly successful people voluntarily give 30, 40, 50% or more to the causes that they support. And they do more for this great country of America than just rolling over and paying more and more in tax. So taxes are actually an asset, but if you redirect them, they can actually be used better. So when we do pay tax, it's for causes that help us all own highways, parks, things like that. But I've always found that most people, if they have their druthers, if they could redirect otherwise payable tax, they would choose to do it to the causes they support. Taxes really become a liability if they're used foolishly, if they're wasted. People resent that when they see our tax dollars being wasted. But when we see them used wisely, or when the government allows us to get tax deductions or use instruments that are tax-free, many people then are empowered to be self-reliant, to be independent, and empower their family members to do likewise. So if this is resonating, let me share with you how you can learn more about this concept. So Basically, if you look at the periods of time in American history when we've had presidents that have actually lowered taxes, they increased the revenue that was being taxed. It actually ended up increasing the tax revenue by lowering taxes and increasing the revenue that's being taxed. Whenever I've had audiences and I've shown them, hey, here's the general categories of where our government spends our tax dollars. I don't show them the percent, but I have them fill in blanks. Where would you choose to voluntarily allocate your tax dollars? And it never comes close to where our government is allocating our tax dollars. My point is, how did we get here? If most people had their druthers, they would choose to allocate a lot of those social dollars, civic dollars, to causes they support. That's what I'm talking about here. So taxes are actually an asset. And when you redirect otherwise payable taxes to causes you support, then you can choose those things that are in alignment with your values and your vision. So how can you learn more about how to do this? With your hard-earned money, one of my favorite instruments is what I call the Laser Fund. LASER is an acronym that stands for Liquid Assets, Safely Earning Returns. It's where I accumulate money in my own family bank. This is where money will go on for generations into perpetuity, and every time the oldest patriarch or matriarch passes away, we take 20% of the tax-free life insurance proceed and we fund new insurance policies on the next oldest, healthiest family members, and our family constantly has a tax-free family bank that will help support all of these causes, and we voluntarily give to the Cancer Society, the Kidney Foundation, multiple sclerosis. We have voluntary donations to all of these because we can choose the ones we want to give to under our true wealth philosophy. We fund it through what we call the Laser Fund. This is also the best instrument for retirement income. It knocks the socks off of IRAs and 401ks. This shows you how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement. So I would love to gift you a free copy of this 300-page book. Here's how you can claim your free copy. If you go to LaserFund, LASERfund.com, or click on the link below, you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I'll pay for the book. This is actually 2 books in one. This side is for the left brain thinker. This has 14 chapters with all kinds of charts and graphs and explanations. If you learn more by stories, you flip it over to the right brain side. This is 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual stories of how people have used the Laser Fund for all kinds of goals like I've been talking about here. Now, if you want to get a bonus, the other book that will help you understand this concept is Entitlement Abolition. And I would love to gift you a free copy of this. Or if you want both, you pay towards the priority shipping and you can get both in a bundle. Otherwise, you can go to entitlementabolitionbook.com and I'll pay for this book. You contribute towards the shipping and handling. There's also options there for master classes, 18 hours that will go very deep on a dive into these concepts. If you can't tell, I'm big on education and I want to empower you. So claim your free copy of one or both of these books, and I'll see you in your brighter future when you learn how to redirect otherwise payable taxes to causes you support by taking ownership.